Hey folks, and welcome to this video. Today we are going to talk about the buy and sell zone algorithmic trader. So the buy and sell zone algorithmic trader is an automated trading robot that trades the same levels as supply and demand software. It's identifying supply and demand liquidity distribution patterns in the price feed of an asset, and it attempts to define entries, stops, and targets if one is qualified. So if we have a quick look at the configuration, we have our keys. We have the private key and the public key. The public key is available as a pinned message on the buy and sell zones forum. The private key you receive when you signed up at Pipnotic. We have execution in seconds. This tells the robot how often to run the algorithm. We have the allow and the block. Any symbols. This can be a currency pair, or it can be currencies, or it can be a commodity that you wish the robot to trade. You can specify them here, separated by commas. And if there is something that you wish to block, you can simply put it in here as well, again separated by commas. And this is case insensitive. It can be uppercase or lowercase. We have the conditions, we have the slippage, we have the spread, we have the risk parameters. Default settings are set to 0.5% per trade. If you wish to use a static lot size, you can define it here. Max lot size, just here. We have max exposure, which means it'll only take on one position for any given symbol at a time. If we are trading currencies, it will only open 4 positions where, for example, the American dollar is either side of the cross. We want to delete all of the pending orders that it's open. You can simply set this to true. We have a filter, a swap filter. If you want the robot only to trade in line with swaps, you can set this to true and define the minimum swap you wish just below. We have stop and targets. The stops are currently set to 2 times the size of supply and demand. So if we have an area of supply and demand that is 10 pips, the stop size will be 20 pips. And it will be 4 times that for the target. So we have a risk reward of 1 to 2. Supply and demand settings, these are the ones that you know from the supply and demand software. We have the slingshot mode, which will put entries a little bit deeper at a better price. We have the risk to reward ratio is set to 2, and the price imbalance release period is set to 4, similar to the stop and the target values just above. We have max accumulation. And if you wish to only trade supply and demand that are closer to the origin, then you can set this value to true and increase the origin significance. This will, however, result in fewer trades. Opposing swing point significance. In order to qualify an area of supply and demand, it must accomplish something. So it must either move through an opposing area of supply and demand or move beyond a swing point. This default setting specifies that price must move beyond a traditional swing point where we have 2 lower bars to the left and to the right for a swing high, and so price must move beyond that in order to be qualified as an area of demand. Then we have another setting, allow multiple tests, as if this is set to true, then the algorithm will trade an area of supply and demand not only the first time but also the following times. Number of periods until expiration. Once a pending limit is opened, the expiration time will be set to 20 times the period that the algorithm is attached to. So if we are on the hourly chart, then this expiration will be set to 20 hours from the time the trade was open. Then we have settings relative to the thickness of the lines and the rectangles. We have the trend here, and the trend is specified using trend lines. So if we have an upward sloping trend line, the 2 trend line points must have higher bar prices 20 periods to the left and 20 periods to the right in order to be qualified as a trend line point, and the same for downward sloping trend lines. And then we have the color settings, as you can see here. So I'm just going to go through and show you how I'm using this. What I normally do is I simply attach it to the chart and switch it on, and once it's done running, this information will be visible to us here. It'll tell us that we have Pipnotic buy and sell zones. The trend is the the W1, which is the week, and there is no trend because there's something that it doesn't like, or it's not formatted yet. And you can see here that we have the scan status. This is complete. So we'll try by going on another time frame. We'll just click on the daily time frame. We'll give it a couple of minutes to figure it out. And then there we are. And so now it's done scanning. It's identified the trend, which is an upward sloping trend line. And if we like this one here, all we have to do is simply go up to the auto trading button and click it. You click it once. It calculates the position size based on the size of the area of demand and your risk parameters. And then it's done. And then I switch it off, and then I go to something else. I go to the Euro American dollar, just to have a couple of examples. Let's remove this one. Then I'll start on the big time frames, because these are the most important. And once the dashboard pops up, yes, you can see here that we have a swing low, a swing high, we have a release, accumulation, and then a big push north. The beginning of the buy zone is just here, and this is beyond that point. So if you like that, you can simply click this button and put the pending buy limit down here. Or you can change time frames, and we can do this. We can see what happens, where here we have a low, a high, a low, which has been respected, both of which for many periods on each side. We found this area of daily demand, but this trade has already happened. This candle here came pretty much close to it, so this one is considered finished, and so I wouldn't take that trade. We have a look on a smaller time frame. You can see that we have this trade that was qualified. We have an upward sloping trend line, this nice area of demand which removed these highs, and likely some supply to the left. The trade would have been taken right here. This trade has already been taken once. If we would have had the allow multiple test set to true, it would have traded it a second time. So this trade worked out on both tests, which was quite nice. We do one last example on this one here. This is the American dollar, Japanese yen. Let's go to the weekly first and see what we can find. Doesn't look like there's anything there. Okay, we have this area of weekly demand much further down below price. We can see if there's something closer to price. So moving down through them. Nothing on the daily. We'll go to the 4 hour. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm simply clicking through these areas one at a time and waiting for these areas to be brought to my attention. And there's nothing done here. Let's try on the hourly chart, see if something pops up. No, nothing. We still have an upward sloping trend line because we have respect on either side. And this trend line will be invalidated once price moves below the most recent swing low. Then we are beginning to break down, because often price will come back down, it'll retest the lows before it continues higher. But I want the break of this trend line to be when we stop the uptrend. Okay, we'll try this one, the American dollar, Canadian dollar, and see if there's anything here. Looks like we probably have a downtrend. Nope, there's nothing on the daily chart. Wait for the dashboard to appear, then you know that the scanning is done. Yes, we have this here. So if you like that, you can simply click on this. Yes, please, and it'll open the trade for us. Like so. And then we're done. So this is essentially how I'm using the buy and the sell zone robot. And if you don't have the buy and sell zone robot and you want it, you get it for free with annual subscriptions at Pipnotic. So you can simply sign up for an annual subscription and you get access to the buy and the sell zone robot, as well as the asset strength reversion algorithms, along with the currency strength, asset strength, and the supply and demand software. So you actually have access to our entire suite of software. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any questions, send me an email or leave them in the comments below, and thanks for watching.